tools, technologies, right? So I think one of the important documentations what you can actually give, you can ask client to give a detailed letter for this foreign national, that what kind of activities this person is going to involve and the areas that a person is going to work, and how the petitioner company technologies and tools is going to help client to achieve the end goal for which this foreign national is actually coming in for the limited time in that client site, right? So I think one of that important documentations, more enhanced version we can give. I think that's my thought. Anita, what do you say?
Absolutely. I would like to add something else that we do as a firm. I don't know whether you guys have come across sometimes L1B RFEs also mentioning right to control, which by the letter of the law should never be there. But the intent of the law is, again, the same thing when it comes to an H-1B and placement at an end client. Similarly here on an L1 visa, have the employers just cut off all ties with this employee right after they placed him or her at the end client. And there we do encourage, especially in an RFE situation, where you do reinstate the concept of right to control, employee-employer relationship. And in addition to what Samir is saying is fabulous, if you have the backing of the client letter, documenting and vetting and reinserting what you have said, that we are the petitioners, this is how we control our employee, this is the contact we have, this is the weekly meetings we have, this is our appraisal process, et cetera, backed up with a client letter, I think should be a slam dunk situation to address that.
Okay. Is there a minimum salary required under the employment or labor laws for L1 folks? No. However, if you have a low salary, I think immigration will wonder if this person is really executive or special. And so higher salary will usually mean that the person has a more important role and may have specialized knowledge and is separate and different than the other workers, and that can be a helpful way to show it.
Jake, if I can just add something.
Go ahead,
Were you
sure.
about to say something?
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go. There is no concept of the prevailing wage, if that's the intent of this question. The prevailing wage, which is mandatory and a requirement for the H-1B, is not the case for the L1. There are many multinationals, some of which we represent. They do have a dual package, where you do have a package for the US and you maintain the Indian salary, which is fine. But then again, exactly as Jake said, you can't pay a manager $35,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 because you're paying him a lump sum on a monthly basis in India for a package that might include 2 lakhs. So when you equate it, it might somehow add up to what you think a manager at a multinational should make, but it doesn't work with the USCIS. So there's a combination of reflecting a salary that will be sounding managerial. It doesn't have to be the hundreds of thousands, but something within the range depending on your location, of course. Standard of living is factored. So yes, there is no prevailing wage, but doesn't mean that you don't pay this professional a reasonable salary, which one would attach significance to in a manager level. L1B is a little different, obviously. It's not a manager, but then again, you can't be paying the person $20,000 and then the rest are per diem, and then paid in India. So be careful of the balance. You can have a balance, but be careful of the balance.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add a point here. There's something we call as a state and federal minimum wage that we need to actually pay a person, right? And majority of people who actually go from here, I'm sure they are above that minimum wage of state and federal, whatever the state decides. We just need to ensure that people are paid above that, and very importantly, if we can't just pay $30,000 and $40,000, right, as Jake and Anita said, then that person I don't think that person is qualified enough to go on an L1 visa then, right? So we just need to ensure that. Thank you.
That's a good point. So there is a minimum wage in the United States. It's very low, and you might not even survive in Bangalore for that kind of what you get paid minimum in U.S. It's not very much minimum wage. So here's another question. From I-129S, page 4, you have to put the previous salary in U.S. dollar equivalent. I think it just means that if they were paid in Indian rupees, for example, you will put the equivalent amount of U.S. dollars so the person can see what it means. Instead of having to go and do a calculation themselves, you make an approximation. Any additional thoughts from No. Okay. So most of the countries are giving importance to localization and getting foreigners holding proprietary knowledge. This will have an impact on Indian IT business. Do you understand? Samir, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so again, if we talk about specifically for US, right, as Trump has said, and he was more emphasizing on the local workers to be hired for their job. If we go back, 8 years back when President Obama was doing his campaign, right, so bringing in the change, and immigration was again one of the hot topic, right, and he was also emphasizing that the local labor market has to be protected. I believe that is very a common theme across the country that the local market, labor market has to be protected. Now, in terms of getting impacted on IT business, it's too early to say. But yes, we may see some extent that our ability to send people to the US may get reduced, but I'm not so sure about it. But you have to kind of wait and watch, when the policy gets, and when the Trump administration come in a full control and the way that they would like to proceed, right? So it's too early to say anything at this time.
Okay. So what about using bundle L1s as an option for fear of complete failure of a group rather than just one individual or one odd profile within the group? What's your view on this?
So in terms of bundle L1, I'm not sure if I understood correctly. Are we referring that there are a group of people we are going to apply L1B
Sounds
visa?
like under a
I was just
group.
going to say I'm not familiar with the
Yeah.
concept of bundle L1s, even after 23 years. So I don't know whoever posted the question, if you can clarify what bundle L1 means. Because
But,
there's an L blanket and there's an individual petition for blanket. So.
Absolutely. If we are getting away with that thought that we're going to apply as a bundle people on a L1, then I don't think so anyone has a specialized knowledge, right? Then the whole group is specialized. So I'm not sure that if that is the question, if that's reference to, but that would be my thought, right? So we should not go in that direction to apply as a bundle application.
But I think it's also risky because the way the question was formulated, if the whole group was denied, then that affects your business. So if you have 15, 20 people that you want to bundle together, rather than show one person, why would you even think along those strategies? You might have better luck making 20 applications, and depending on your documentation, have more of them approved rather than have all of them denied.
Last question. How to document the tool which is not proprietary to the sponsor? If you could explain in some detail. This will be last question.
You can't.
So
Why will
Anandita,
you can't.
so, but what about the memo that said, the memorandum, oh, it doesn't have to be this way?
Well, the fact of the matter is you cannot just pick up on a client's tool and then propagate it your own. In the process of proving how you use it, because yes, I know how the IT business works. I know how, although a particular company, IT company who's providing ERP solutions might not have its own products, but in a situation where it is strictly the client's products entirely, still a business necessity has to be built. A logic has to be documented. The relationship between the petitioner and the end client over the course of a few years, hypothetically speaking, has to be documented. How, what are the duties, what is the design, develop, implement, customize products, which is a part of the SOW, part of the MSA, this petitioner is going to do for the end client, and then build a business necessity case of saying, hey, look, this is what the end client needs. This is how we are providing services, which is unique to us, the petitioner. Yes, we might be working in this tool, which is not proprietary, but this is exactly how we have trained our people to actually function in this role, and this is how they're providing services to our end client, honoring our MSAs and SOWs. It's an uphill task, I'll tell you that. And again, to repeat myself, if it's an L blanket, good luck on trying to get it approved at the consulate in Chennai, because they do not adhere to the August 2015 memo.
And just to add what Anandita said, I'll take this. L1 blankets at Chennai Consulate, it is not just the proprietary tool. I would emphasize that it's the combination of the education, experience, training, and certifications clubbed with your, company proprietary tools, application process, and methodologies with the general skills like Java G2E. So it's the combination of the education experience rather than just focusing on the proprietary tools, which another thing, couple of points I like to add here, sorry, just another 300 seconds. Managerial capacity, L1A, I heard everybody. They are emphasizing on that you should have an org chart, but my personal experience is that even if you have a high grade manager, when you say manager, it doesn't mean that he should manage 500 people or 150 people or even 2 people. It's an engagement manager where we have a small window of individual contributors who we have successfully adjudicated as positive at Chennai Consulate, who didn't have a single person reporting, but they were engaging manager and they were handling an eminent function or a subdivision into the organization. So yes, they are right that if you have an org chart and then there are couple of managers who are reporting and then he has a 150 team, it is good, but to add on, we have seen that individual contributors are also been adjudicated at Chennai Consulate and at USCIS positively, even though they didn't have any person reporting to them. Most importantly, that's another point, at Chennai Consulate, I have heard several people, they are emphasizing, yes, rightly on how your person is specialized, professional, but from my experience I have seen, because I was in there and I was sitting behind, I heard questions and what they answered, and we used to discuss with the consular officer. So they said, these guys are focusing on how he's specialized, but where the denial actually comes is, they are not emphasizing what is the requirement in the US in itself is of a specialized knowledge professional. So we have seen that they don't prepare their applicants on how the need in itself in US is of a specialized knowledge professional, point number 1. Point number 2, how the person at the window fits into that requirement, how only he fits into that requirement. So you might be a specialized knowledge professional in India or your home country, but there's no requirement in the US of a specialized knowledge profession. Only any Tom, Dick and Harry can do the job. On the basis of that, I have seen the consular officers denying the L1 blankets at Chennai Consulates.
Very helpful. Thanks so much. Well, and thank you for our panel, Samir, Anandita, thanks very much. And hopefully the questions that have not been answered, we will send out answered from the sponsors and make sure that your questions are going to be addressed so that you can have that information. I see many good questions there, so keep them coming. Don't worry, they will get responded to. Umesh, would you like to bring the trophies for our panelists? And for last panel, I don't think we got to give the trophy, so if you didn't get one, please come to Umesh and get your trophy for being part of our conference. We appreciate you.